What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I need to answer this question. People are starting to ask this question again, and let me show you the comment here. It says Code TEC family. So the Code Tech family, basically, I put a code at the end of every video just so you guys understand. So at the very, very end, when you see the guy doing the spinning on his head, you're going to see a code something. And if you write that code in, I will try my best to respond to those comments as well as give it a like, give it a thumbs up. And so the question is, hi, David, have you heard anything about another $1,400 check due to the economy? I hear conflicting reports, but I totally trust your info. I'm not going to watch anyone else. It's too confusing. Thank you for your caring and sharing spirit. Okay, so you guys know how I feel about this. I've talked about this before. I haven't talked about it in several months, but when it comes to a stimulus check of any size, $1,400, $1,200, $600, whatever, their politicians aren't talking about a stimulus check. Okay, they need to talk about a stimulus check first, then put it on paper, and then pass it in both the House and the Senate and send it to the president for signature. It's not even close to happening. I don't even hear any politicians talking about a stimulus check. However, I do know that if you go online and you type in stimulus check, you're going to see articles come up talking about that very same thing. What I want to do is I actually want to go to YouTube, and I haven't done this in a while, like I said, but we're going to go to YouTube and we're going to see what comes up when we type in stimulus check. Okay, so here we are on YouTube. We're going to type in stimulus checks and we will see what comes up. Okay, and so here we are. So we have some people talking about a stimulus check, right? And I'm just looking at basically the thumbnail. I might look at the title just to see. Basically, it says, well, here, this is me, Kevin, here. It says, the return of stimulus checks and recession. So obviously, I would want to look at the video to find out exactly what he's talking about. But when it comes to a stimulus check, I can assure you right now, we're not even close to any type of stimulus. What they could be saying in the video is if we have a recession, if things get really bad, they might lean towards some type of a stimulus in order to get our economy back on track. And that's the only thing that I can see. But if we fall into a deep recession, or if we fall into a recession and then it turns into a deep recession, it's not going to be anything in the next few months. It would probably take a year or even more before we would see a deep recession. And if we are in that deep recession, then at that point, you might see the federal government try to step in. But that's a long way away if that were to happen. Right now, politicians aren't talking about it. Okay, so if you are thinking, well, maybe we'll get a stimulus check by summer, that's just not going to happen. Okay, this next post here says new stimulus checks incoming. Says new stimulus checks are coming back. So this is another thing where there's no information to give us that, right? Blind a Billionaire saying here, automatic $1,400 stimulus check. Economy is crumbling. The reality here is that we have split government. Okay, so if Democrats want a stimulus check and Republicans are opposed to it, which we saw at the very tail end, the last stimulus check that was sent out, there was a huge divide. And so if we see that divide continue, then there's no way that we can get a stimulus check passed, because you have Democrats running the Senate, you have the House run by Republicans, and then the president is a Democrat. And so because of the split government, you're not going to get it through Congress. So I'll give you an example. Let's say in the Senate, you have a Democrat that proposes, and I'm just throwing Democrat as an example, but you have a Democrat that proposes a stimulus check, a forced stimulus check. So if that happens, they can attempt to pass it in the Senate. They still need 60 votes. So they're still going to need Republicans to vote for it. But let's just say for sake of argument, it gets passed in the Senate, and then they send it down to the House. Now, the House, run by Republicans, if they don't want to move forward with the stimulus check, it's not going to happen. And because of the split government, before we didn't have split government, so it was a little bit easier to get some of this stuff passed. But now that we have split government, it could be a situation where the Senate passes it, it goes to the House, and the House never even looks at it. And so that's the reality there. So it's going to be pretty much impossible for us to see a forced stimulus check anytime soon. Now, when we're looking at our economy, like I said before, when we're looking at our economy, if our economy really starts to tank, then there's a potential that the federal government will need to do something. Because right now, what the federal government is doing is they're trying to cool off our economy. They're still trying to cool off our economy by raising interest rates. If they cool off our economy too much by raising interest rates and our economy starts to tank, that means people are going to lose their jobs. That means that people are going to lose their homes and car loans and all of that stuff. We'll just see a complete collapse. If we see that, then the federal government is going to need to stimulate the economy. So it's going to need to start printing more money, basically getting more money out there to the American people so they can spend money on cars, houses, and just everyday items. That way, these companies will be stronger and they'll be able to hire more people. And so that's what we could see in the future, but that's going to take a long time if we were looking at that. And we don't even know right now if we're going to go into a deep recession. And what the federal government is saying is they're anticipating a soft landing. If we have a soft landing, we're not going to go in a deep recession. We might go into a recession, but not a deep recession, not deep enough to where we would need to stimulate the economy with a lot with stimulus checks and things like that. And so, Catherine, thank you for the question. But at this point, stimulus checks, they're just not on the table. So if you guys have any other questions, post them down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.